Because I'm going to make this the last week of the skies and weather project. So we've still got one more week in May. I thought we'd start the next project next week, and then there's basically 4 weeks left till we break up at the end of June. So
the next project?
I think it's animals, but I need to just check. I've forgotten. I have to check the program. But I think it's animals. So we've got 1 week in end of May, then there's 3 weeks in June. I'm taking a break on the 18th of June. I won't be running classes on the 18th of June, which I'll put out on the emails, but just as I'll remind you a bit closer to the date. And then the week after that will be the last week, and we'll have a break for the summer. Okay. We've got a way to go yet. So I thought last week, just do a quick recap of what I've covered so far. So I started with skies and clouds. So that's the first one with oils. I don't know what I've done with the watercolour. I did a watercolour version of that as well. And then last week I was looking at, that's the watercolour version. Yeah. So that was the watercolour version of the skies, using the masking fluid to mask out the white bits. And then last week I was looking at misty scenes. So I did a watercolour one of trees in the mist, and then a little sunrise misty oil one. So they were the demos so far. This week I thought I'd use this image, sort of London street scene, basically rainy scenes, sort of rainy weather. And really a lot of how you convey rain is really the reflections, I think, in pavements and things like that. That's what I think of when I think of rainy scenes. That sort of thing comes to mind. So I basically just sketched this chap out here. I won't do the whole thing. I thought it's mostly him and the pavements I wanted to cover. Start pre-mixing a few colours. So these are the water mixed oils, and if anybody wants to try water mixed oils, I've got a nice set here of new paint for anybody to try that we were gifted by Becky. So I tend to start by just getting a little bit of colour in everywhere. Hi, Ian. Right, so I'm going to just start with getting some colour down in the background. And this paint is very slightly thin, but not thin very much, really. So I'm going for this sort of slightly lavendery, pinky grey colour, and just want to get some colour down that I can then work into. So I'm spreading it fairly thinly, but I don't want loads of paint on there, otherwise it'll be hard to get the other layers to stick. So that can be the lighter areas, perhaps coming in a bit more. I've got a little bit of this chap and his reflection. So he's quite dark, so I've got some burnt umber here and a little bit of blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue mixed together, just to get a nice dark, and just want a silhouette really. And start really quite dark, and maybe, ideally you kind of paint the background in as well, or paint that in first. I'm going to leave that on this occasion. So just try and pop that in where I've sketched him to be. We've basically got the weight on that leg, and this leg is slightly so that can be him. There's a little bit of light on that leg, so I'll just lighten that up a little bit. And if you're trying to give the impression of people walking, sometimes having one leg lighter than the other, that helps to convey a sense of movement, and so there's a little bit of light catching that one. And then it's back into the shadow for his foot. Quite often you find with reflections that they will be slightly lighter than whatever it is there. If it's something dark, you'll find that it's a little bit lighter. If it's reflecting something very light, sometimes it's just a tiny bit darker. So it tends to sort of average out the tones a little bit. So this bit here is a reflection of the sky, which you'd expect to be just a tiny bit darker than the sky. But anyway, just carry on with this a little bit for a minute.
So that's him. So his reflection just wants to be a little bit lighter. And to me that's fairly, a little bit kind of warmish, purpley colour. So a bit of the grey I've used here and just lighten it up a tiny bit. Sometimes actually where the feet, you know, that bit there might be a little bit darker, just where the feet meet. And then as you come further down, it becomes less distinct, it's a little bit blurry. The reflection, and then the rest is really reflecting the sky colour. So I'm going to go to another brush and a lighter mix, so plenty of white mixed in with that. Maybe slightly yellowy here, just to warm it up a little bit, but getting bluer and pinker as I go down. I quite like having a board with a little bit of tone on, as you know. I just find that it helps. You can paint both light and dark then. So just kind of scrub that in. It's actually not too different from the colour of the board as it is. And I think as I get further down, there's a little bit of a bluiness, so I'm just going to make that a little bit bluer as I come down, add a bit of blue into the mix. So this is like a London pavement. They look quite smooth, clean, sharp flagstones. The one I had to go at this morning, because I think the students probably take the picture. This one was one of Bath, and the stones are a lot more uneven. But you know they'll vary quite a bit. Sometimes you're looking through this, what is in fact like a watery layer over the top of flagstones, just the colour underneath. So that's out there. I can see a little bit of highlights there, something light being reflected there, so I can lighten that up. But I've basically got a little bit of colour everywhere that I can now work into. So this is the working into it a little bit. There's a few things. Let's go to a slightly smaller brush. I think we've got a few like telegraph poles or something like that, or signposts reflected. Let's get a little bit of that in. Some of these are a little bit lighter, so that's a little bit of variation in one or two of the flagstones. A little bit there that goes a little bit lighter. So it then becomes subtle now. You're just looking for very slight, subtle variations. A little bit bluer in here. That's a little bit here. There's reflections of something yellow there. Perhaps a light in the building. I can put that in. Again, the nice thing about the oils is I can soften this with my fingers, blend bits in. That stayed wet for a little while, perhaps a tiny bit lighter. That's something look similar there, the front of the building reflected. And then once I've got those sort of features in, and if there are any variations to the flagstones, I'll get those in. There's a little bit more, something just there could go in. Then just trying to give a sense of these edges of flagstones, and that helps too. So that's where I would perhaps go to. So far I've used these bristle brushes, which are nice for scrubbing painting. And for the sharper marks, I use the nylon brush, and this flat nylon brush. It's a new brush, so I can get it to a nice sharp chisel edge. And then it's either painting freehand or using a straight edge to get a sharp line. So I'll just try this bit freehand to start with. Yeah, so if I'm careful, I can get some nice sharp lines like that. Using the straight edge, it's just a bit of wood that I've cut a bevel on. I should be able to get some nice sharp kind of ruled lines across there. Do a few of those, getting just thin that a tiny bit till it's flow. Yeah, something like that, and then you'll have a few in this direction, following the perspective of the mark. Then we'll get closer to going back in space. You'll also probably find some, like just there and there's some highlights, some lighter marks where the light bit is reflected, perhaps a little bit of the sky is reflected on the edge of, and there's a few over here actually, so a few kind of lights up here. So sort of kind of looking at, you know, what you're seeing there. Some dark marks, some lighter, some almost merge into nothing. Yeah, so that's really the kind of thing that I'll look for. One or two of these you can see shadow and a highlight, so it might look a little bit like that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for when I'm painting outdoors and painting those sort of scenes outdoors. Quite hard in the rain, but if you can find a bit of shelter, sometimes that's worked quite nicely. Find a nice canopy to stand under, and then you've got a nice rainy scene. Any questions? So there's a few rainy images here to try. If anybody wants to try any of these, and so if anybody wants to try the oils, we've got some oils there. Right, okay.